We're Jennifer and Ed Kilgore, and we've been campers for 15 years. We've owned 4 campers now, and we started out with a slide-in truck-mounted unit, went to a pull-behind, came up to a 5th wheel, and sometime back we realized that there was a distinct difference between a weekend recreational unit and a full-timers unit. And we, after I retired, wanted to become full-timers, and so we started looking for a unit that might meet our requirements. We didn't want to house all the kids and the grandkids, so we weren't looking for an exceptionally large unit, but we wanted one that was going to be comfortable and have all the amenities. And so as we looked, we found a write-up on the Ambition 35 RS. And as we did our research, our interest was piqued, and we finally decided to come up to Bristol at that time, because the unit was being made by Augusta. And we took the tour, and we were very impressed with what we saw. We actually had an opportunity to tour a competitive model made by another manufacturer, but which is a high-end unit, I might say. But we were very impressed with what we saw. We both have a construction background, and we placed an order, and several months later came back and picked up the finished product. And we've been in it now for about 19 months, and we're very well pleased with our purchase and the way the unit has performed. It's held up very well. It's given us good service, relatively trouble-free, and we're very satisfied customers.
Storage, roominess, comfort of it, the design, the floor plan that we got in ours.
From my perspective, I had been around campers long enough to not be impressed with the glitz and the glamour. Not that she preferred to look at that, but we were experienced. We weren't novice or amateur type full-timers. We were people that knew what we were looking for. I was looking for a good sub-base that the unit was sitting on. I wanted to be able to look under the unit and see that everything was neat and tidy, that had a good suspension on it, that was going to hold up. And when I walked into the camper, now that I'm switching from the outside to the inside, the first thing I did was pull out a drawer and find that the cabinet work was superb. I was very impressed with the tongue and groove joining on the shelves, or not the shelves, but the drawers. Heck, when you've owned a camper that had shelves and drawers that had the structural integrity of a cardboard box, you're real impressed when you see something that's done right. And somebody had taken some real care in designing and constructing something that looked to me like it would last through the years. We had a small farm, and when I retired, I worked for the Department of Defense with the federal government. And when I retired, we lived about 100 miles or so from all of our kids. We have 5 kids and 15 grandkids. And we wanted to have the ability to visit, sleep in our own bed, not have a back that was hurting from toting luggage, And when they got tired of us or we got tired of them, we could leave, you know, and give it a rest. And this provided the best of two worlds. We sold our place and invested in another home. It just happened to have 4 wheels on it, and we pull it behind our truck. And so we moved our...
Home is where we park it.
Yes, home is where we park it. We like the freedom to come and go and see different things and do different things. And this was a very economical way to live, and it provided us with the opportunity to do that.
I tell my husband we're the new age gypsies. I'm not somebody that looks at the light bulb and when it burns out, I don't call General Electric and say, I need you to send somebody down here and change this light bulb. I'm somebody that I'm not afraid to jump in there, and that doesn't mean I'm an expert, but I'm a decent handyman. I've got a complete set of tools, not everything, but stuff that I feel comfortable with. And when I had a question, I could call and ask, what's behind the wall right here if I chose to access it, or where do I find this particular switch that I need to replace? I'll send you a switch. You know, and I pull the panel off and replace the burned out switch. Switches burn out. That doesn't mean that we've had a problem with switches. It just means I had one problem and it was rectified by somebody here at the plant that was willing to just send me a switch. And I had enough smarts to access the back of the panel and slip it in, and that was the end of the problem. So we have had very few issues with our camper, especially things that I couldn't address myself. So yeah, it's been fairly maintenance free. I think that one of the first things that somebody should do is properly research. They should go on forums. You know, all these manufacturers have forums that you can access pretty much and see what's being said by the owners. You get a pretty good idea of what you're up against. If somebody's got a problem, they usually are pretty straightforward about posting it because they want to get it corrected. And so that was one of the first things I did. I also looked at the components that are incorporated into the finished product. That's important. You want to have something that you can get maybe service for if you're out in the middle of nowhere. Most of the components that you see today, such as the awning, the air conditioning units, the furnace, the water heater, they're all made by Dometic. Dometic's a good company. They are very good about backing their products up. So if you have a product, you can call their customer service, and generally somebody will talk you through, or they'll say, well, you know, I believe that if this doesn't work, maybe we should get somebody to look at it. And they've been very, not picking on Dometic, of course, but just saying that most of the components are standard items that you can get service on, and they're not some oddball deal that somebody jury-rigged and tend to be difficult to operate or to get into. So yeah. Being a handyman is helpful. That doesn't mean you got to know everything about everything, but it gives you an idea of where to start looking and who to talk to. And it's been very helpful. When I had an issue, I could pick up the phone and call, and the problem was taken care of.
fact, the campground we stayed at before we came here, a lady and her husband were walking by, and she says, "You've got a big camper." I said, "Yes, and thank you." So they noticed right off, and the color, paint, you know, it's noticeable. It's eye-popping, you know.
You don't see that full body paint on just anything. That's an eye catcher. Ours is, like I said, it's a year and a half old, or a little bit older, and it still looks as good today as it did the day we picked it up. And I can treat the paint job on there just like the paint job on a good paint job on a brand new automobile. It shines. It's beautiful, and it's eye-catching. Of course, one of the things you do in a campground when somebody pulls in is you get your chair and you move it around so you can watch.
Have a good view.
Good view, because that's the real entertainment of being at a campground, is watching some poor guy that he hadn't got any windshield time, you know, no experience behind the wheel. And everybody wants to see how well he gets it under the tree limb and how well he gets it squared up in the campsite. So everybody's looking. And generally, once you get stopped and somebody says, "Man, you whipped in there," and "Yeah, I used to be a driver, no big deal," they start asking questions. You know, "What is that? I've never heard of it. Where'd you get it? I never see them at a dealer." "Well, yeah, we eliminated the dealer. Just driftwood. We like to deal with the factory. We like to talk to the people that built it. We don't want to talk to an intermediary." So yeah, there's some pride in it. That doesn't mean I'm snobbish.
Yeah, true. But we have found, like going to a dealer, a lot of the people that you're dealing with, they don't even own a camper. The dealers, the salespeople that you talk to, they don't own one. So really, you're just buying it because you want one from a dealer. But we researched it, like Ed said, and we came down here and took y'all's tour, and y'all were working on it, and well, somebody's, and it was very interesting.
Well done.
Well done.
It's not all about what it looks like either. You know, it's what's behind the paint job, what's on the inside, and when you see it being put together, yeah, you realize somebody's taken some real thought and put into it. The people that are building it aren't on piecework. They're being paid by the hour, a salary, whatever. They take pride, obviously, in what they're doing. They're not being pushed. The QC people are not sitting in the back of the last bay to inspect the finish. They're wandering around looking at how it's being constructed, the part that you don't see after it's put together, you know. So yeah, it's a good product, and I highly recommend it.
There's a big difference between coming to the factory or dealing with a dealer. Totally different.
Yeah.
Because we've been there both ways.
Yeah, who wants to buy a horse from somebody that's never been on one?
Gotta know what you get.
And the thing that I like is that I didn't buy something that's going to last for 10 years. I hope that it's still around when I live to be 125, you know, and I can call it home still. And if anything's going to last that long, that camper will. Yeah.